Hey guys, this is Mark from parkflyers.com. Today we are looking at a brand new product from Traxxas. It's their Mud Boss car. They finally released it. It's $380. It has BL2S brushless motor system, GTR shocks. It's got a clipless body. It has some really cool tires on it. And we're going to go over and compare it to a Salvas Mud Boss. Now, I was the race director for Jackson RC Raceway last year, and I'm also doing it this year. I get very familiar with the Mud Boss cars. It is one of the most popular classes for sanctioned racing, and it seems like all the races that I've run, out of all the classes, Mud Boss seems to be number one for user interest and popularity. So when we run the races, we have the most entrants for Mud Boss. There's two classes primary for the Mud Boss. It's the 12-turn brushed with a high center of gravity chassis, which is this one right here. And then you have the LCG chassis, which is 13.5. That's called Big Block. This car released from Traxxas is geared more towards a big block type of style. It's going to be faster than a 12-turn motor, obviously. Have a lot of torque with the BL2S, and the LCG chassis makes it handle really nicely. Now the question is, was this a necessary release from Traxxas? Should Traxxas have just left it alone and let Salvas Racing just keep going, because it was gaining traction and popularity and was growing, and it still is. Where does this fit in? Is this something that is going to add to the racing, or is it going to take away and just add more confusion? Well, I have an opinion on that. I took this out yesterday at the track. We ran it around the dirt oval, and it was interesting. I right off that. Now I did, by the way, I just want to let you know, I did the test box stock just to see how it races out of the box. And I will tell you that from just my initial impressions, it does handle significantly better than anything I've ever driven from anybody put together, whether it be a regular 12-turn or a big block Mud Boss. This drove better, and I'm going to go over the reasons why I think it drove better. We have to do more testing and dissect what Traxxas did here, but I will tell you right out of the gate, one of the best features of the car are the tires. Now these are Hoosier tires from Traxxas. They have a certain pattern on them, and there is a reason why they grip really well. The compound is a really special compound. It's super sticky. If you rub it on a smooth surface like this wood here, you could move it back and forth and you'll hear it makes like a screeching noise. Where if you took this car, the Kumho's, which is the S1 compound, this is their stickier, softer compound, and you basically can't get that sound on any smooth surface. Not that that's a scientific test, but it just lets you know that they were very serious about the traction compound in these tires. It is a very big reason why this car handles amazing. They did something with the tread pattern that's interesting. They actually, there's a 2 millimeter, maybe 2 to 2.5 millimeter depth to these. So on the surface, they really grip the dirt very well. It's very hard to make a tire that grips either loose or hard pack. This does it very well, and it's really something to note, and it's something to highlight in this review. This is the key standout feature, in my opinion, of the car. The other feature that we're going to take a look at, I'm going to remove the cover here. All right, so the other feature that I want to talk about are the GTR shocks. Now, one of the biggest detractions, in my opinion, from the Mud Boss cars is that they basically force you to use the Traxxas plastic shocks. They really always seem dead. They seem like they're just under spec for the weight of the car. I never really love them. It's a part that they used in a lot of cars like the Bandit, the Rustler, and then they just threw it into the Slash. I always thought the Slash was too heavy for them, and I didn't think the performance was good. Now, a lot of people will modify those shocks to make them run better. There's some tricks you can do to that, but right out of the box, the GTRs, they're just better. They have threaded shock bodies, so you don't have to use those ancient archaic clips to make your tension on these. They came in a set. They have basically preset tension with the different clips that Traxxas gives you in the box. People were using those. With the threaded shock bodies, you can dial it in and really get precise with your adjustments. You have bigger, higher volume shock bodies. You're getting more damping. You have titanium nitride shock shafts, definitely much smoother. When you push down on the shock on the GTRs, it always returns back every time right where it started, and there's no sag. And it feels like the appropriate shock for the car. So a combination of the tires and the shocks, I think it's a winner. I really do. I think it handled great. I took it around the track. There were two parts to the track. One of them was prepared where we put a substance that makes the car track surface a little sticky. Obviously it handled good around that, and the loose dirt section on purpose, we left it like that just to see how this would handle it, and it was drivable. A car with the Kumhos on it on a loose surface is almost undrivable. It's got to be treated for that to drive well. This was acceptable. You could actually race on this with this tire and shock combo. I found it very, very usable. Now it does come with 50, according to a Traxxas rep that I spoke to, it comes with 50 weight oil in the rear differential. For regular racing, most racers, they're going to put oil in the differential, and that prevents pushing in the corners. It makes the car handle a little better, especially on dirt. So the 50K, in our opinion, was a little too high. We're going to retest it when we put oil in the differential and just see if it even gets better. The other thing that was interesting is we didn't even touch the camber settings on the car, and that's a big deal for Mud Boss cars. You have to adjust your camber because you're making that left turn, and you adjust especially the front to adjust for your camber, so when you go in the turns the wheels lay flat. We didn't even touch it. So just running it box stock out of the box, we think there was a noticeable improvement in performance over Salvas Mud Boss, and I'm pretty happy about that because it's definitely going to be something that's going to make racing more exciting. Now, the only thing is, a lot of people have money invested in their old Salvas cars. It's hard to get racers to adapt a new platform and new rules. The GTR shocks and these tires are definitely going to be intruding on those rules. But in my opinion, if it is an increase in performance, why not? You're going to enjoy the driving a lot better. I find, especially custom Salvas cars, they're very finicky. They have all low-tech parts on it, and it was time for an upgrade. This is 2024. This is what a Mud Boss car really should be. Now, the cover is definitely an upgrade as well. I wasn't a fan of how the clipless system works on this car. It doesn't feel that clicky, and it doesn't feel like, it just doesn't feel tactile. Let's say a Max Slash would, or any of their other cars. I wasn't in love with the clipless feel when you push it on. I don't get that really loud click. It just doesn't even make a noise. You just kind of have to know it's in there somehow. But yeah, so I wasn't a fan of the clipless system, but the actual body itself, I'm a big fan of, and that's because first feature is on the front. You have a very, very big surface area, much bigger than a Salvas car, for air to push down. So the downforce in the front is going to help you with that traction in the front. I have a dual plane, basically surface here. You have this surface here flat, air going over it, pushing down. The rear wing is canted upward, and then you have the roof here. So you have all these surfaces pushing down. I did drive the car without the cover just to see how much the cover improved the handling, and it was a big deal. Downforce is a big role in how Mud Boss cars drive. That's the whole thing with them. That's why you would put a body that kind of looks like this on a car. There would be no other reason, is all that downforce. And why do you need downforce? Because you're driving on dirt. Dirt is a very slippery substance. It is the wrong type of track material in my opinion, but it's fun. You could slide the car, it's more challenging, and you have to use science to make the car drive really well, and part of that science is this cover with all that downforce. I have one modification I have in mind. The rear of the car, if the screw holes are rear on the back of this wing, so you can actually take the screws out. You could put a shim, and you could actually lift the wing up if you want to get a little bit more downforce. I'm going to do that, and I recommend, if you do get this car and you're running, that shouldn't really break the rules too much. Now, speaking of rules and speaking of this car, so at my track, I'm going to create a specific class. I'm going to call it Mud Boss Advanced, and it's going to be with this car to mitigate and help people out, to mitigate the expense of investing in a new platform. I'm going to do something for the track that's really a favor. I'm going to let people rent this car if they want to race it. You pay $30 to rent this car, $20 entry, so it's a $50 total fee. And then you could actually race in this class. We're going to sign up 5 drivers, 1 for each color of this car. And we hope to get people to make a new class just to try it out and see. I'm pretty confident that the lap times are going to go down a nice amount, something noticeable for this car. I really do think that. I believe it. A lot of it has to do, like I said, is with the suspension and the tires. It's about time that a company stepped forward and actually did something about it. Proline was basically towing the line for many years with their Hoosiers and then their hot laps. But time has come and we needed a new tire. This is really something that was designed for dirt. It's one of the first tires I've seen that really makes the car handle amazing on dirt. It is incredible, and it has a lot to do with that. The depth in the tread has to do with the compound, and not to mention it has a really firm tire insert in there. The foam is really nice. I think it's perfect. It doesn't feel too mushy, and it doesn't feel too stiff. But it's a little bit stiffer than their typical foams, especially on something like a Kumho. You can feel it's a little mushy. This is going to be more firm and race oriented. It helps hold the shape of the tire, and I'm sure balancing these will make them drive even better. Overall, like I said, this car, just out of the box without even tuning it just from memory driving the cars last year, this drives better than a Salvas Mud Boss, both the 12 turn and the big block. That's my opinion. I'm not in love, like I said, with the clipless system. We are going to see how that holds up in racing. I know from the Raptor R that Traxxas had, when we took it and we took it to the skate park, we did some really big hits with it. The clipless body things were coming out and the body was coming off. So we hope that doesn't happen in racing. If it does, we're going to have to figure out a solution. Another thing is the bell crank has a servo saver spring in it. I'm going to try to figure out how to eliminate that and make it stiffer. Stock servo is not really adequate for racing. The 2075 does not center well, and it also has plastic internal gearing. It's probably going to break right away during racing. So we have a Savox servo. I think it's the 0253 MG. That centers better. It's metal gearing, and it's around $40, and that is the one that we allow for all the Mud Boss cars on the East Coast. All the racing tracks usually allow for that, and we allow it as well. So putting that in here is definitely going to help the steering and the overall feel of the car. And like I said, we're going to work on the bell crank to see if we can get it to stiffen up a little bit. We really don't need or want any type of player, given that because you're racing, you want that steering to be dead accurate and really smooth, and we don't want any wobbling of the front tires at all. But overall, this is a really good car. One thing to note here is on the front of the car, the Achilles heel of the previous car was your front components, like the caster block and the steering link. All that now is beefed up. They're called HD. They're high density plastic, and they're actually thicker materials. They are going to hold up better for racing, and they are a great upgrade. If you have a Rustler or a Slash or a Bigfoot, they're going to be amazing upgrades. It's the top two parts that we sell in the store for breakage. We make a lot of money from parts. We definitely going to lose that money in revenue because the parts are much tougher. We haven't really seen how extreme they can go, but I'm sure they can break. They're a lot thicker, and I don't see them breaking in a Mud Boss type of setting. Also, the rear bearing carriers are also HD plastics, and they're thicker, they're redesigned, and that's also a nice feature. The rear universals on this are the upgraded ones, the thicker ones that are used in the Rustler 4x4, and they definitely hold up better. In stock racing, these weren't allowed in the regular Slash, Mud Boss, Salvas, but they are going to be allowed obviously with this car because this is all new. Overall, if you think about the motor, by the way, it's a $40 motor, as opposed to spending maybe $180 on a really good 13.5 brushless motor. You can probably get one maybe for $115 if you get a cheap one. But anyway, the motor itself is something that's really cheap, inexpensive, and it's something that's easy to replace. Because it's brushless, it should last a long time as long as you keep it clean. So if you think about it, with all the durability of all the parts combined on this, the overall running cost is much lower than a regular Salvas Mud Boss. You have the HD parts in the front, you have the rear thicker universals, you have the Magnum 272 transmission, which is much more durable than the stock transmission, by the way. It also has components on the car like a front bumper that's going to protect all the components. You have the LCG chassis, and overall, together with everything here, everything is super duty, extreme duty. It's definitely lends itself to track racing, and its parts are going to last longer. You're going to spend less money maintaining this car. So even though the original investment is $380, I think most customers are going to be happy with the fact that the running costs on this car should be lower, and I think will be lower than a standard Salvas Mud Boss. Again, this is the initial impression of the car. I cannot wait to take this thing apart and tune it for the track. I want to put light oil in the differential. I want to adjust the camber front and rear. I want to play with the suspension and shocks, maybe even the springs, and I want to see what we can get out of this car. It's a very, very good platform. Like I said, I'm going to create a new class for this car called Mud Boss Advanced. If you're in the New Jersey or tri-state area, you want to join us, call me at 1-800-470-8932. Initially, we're going to only have 5 spots open. We'd love you to join us. It is so much fun racing. It's addicting, and it is something that serves to the community, what we do at Jackson Raceway. I think it's the best dirt oval in New Jersey because of its size and the dirt composition. It's really good. We have great stands. We have a porta potty if you need to go to the bathroom. We just built a new director's box. It's bigger, it's got better speakers on it, so you could actually hear the announcements better. So for 2024, the track is greatly improved. We'd love you to come and join us for the season. We're going to be starting this Thursday. You can come, gates open at 4:30 and races start at 7 p.m. sharp. Just a couple rules. There obviously is no fighting. It's not tolerated. If there's any fighting or hitting, you will be asked to leave the facility. Race entry is $20 per class, $10 each additional class, and $40 unlimited. Like I said, if you want to rent this car and we get enough people to make a separate race for this, we're looking for 5 people. It's going to be $50 to rent the car. If you want to buy from us, we're more than happy to sell you one. It's $380. You can call, like I said, call the 800 number, ask for me. But anyway, this is Mark from parkflyers.com. This is an initial look at the Traxxas Mud Boss. A very impressive car, an improvement in handling in my opinion, and an improvement in durability. I think it's a good price point, and let's see, we're going to have to, time will tell if racers adopt this. I think it will catch on over time, but that's my opinion. Anyway, signing off, comments below. I will see you on the next video, and have a great day.